It was just supposed to be a quiet weekend retreat. That's all I wanted. I'd been away for months. Deployments, projects, federal travel. And finally, I'd cleared a weekend to head to my own property, a pretty quiet mountain complex I'd developed years ago. I'd planned it for peace, privacy, and above all, freedom from nosy neighbors and HOA micromanagement. But of course, the HOA had other ideas. I arrived at the property late Friday night. The sky was inky black. My headlights cut through the fog as I turned off the gravel road and entered the private gate to the mountain cabins. Except there was a strange SUV parked right in front of my cabin. At first, I thought it might be one of my long-term tenants, maybe parked in the wrong spot. But as I got closer, I saw two individuals standing at my front porch, clipboard in hand, flashlight scanning through the windows like they were searching for something. I rolled down my window. "Evening," I said. They turned abruptly. The woman, late 40s, tight bun, HOA badge around her neck, stepped forward. "This is private property," she snapped. I paused. "Yes, I know. This cabin has been reported for unauthorized rentals. You need to leave the premises immediately." I stared at her. "Leave? I'm not a renter," I said calmly. "I own this cabin." She laughed. "We've checked our records. This unit isn't owner-occupied. It's listed as a short-term rental in violation of our updated guidelines. That makes it subject to immediate lockdown, pending HOA board review." Before I could even respond, she pointed at my vehicle. "And unless you can prove you're authorized to be here, I'm calling the sheriff." I stepped out. "Ma'am, do whatever you think you need to do." She didn't hesitate, pulled out her phone and dialed 911. "I have a trespasser refusing to leave a cabin in the Whispering Pines complex," she told dispatch. "Could be dangerous. Might be squatting." I let out a slow sigh. This woman had no idea who she was dealing with. It took all of 10 minutes for two sheriff cruisers to pull up the gravel road. Blue lights lit up the pines. The HOA rep flagged them down like she was saving the neighborhood from a terrorist. "That's him," she said to the deputy, refusing to leave. The deputy walked toward me. "Sir, can I see your ID?" I didn't argue. I reached into my jacket pocket and handed him my federal identification. He looked at it, then looked at me. His entire posture changed. "Mr. Caldwell," he said respectfully, "I apologize for the disturbance. We didn't realize you were the owner." The HOA rep frowned. "What? He's not in the registry." "I own the entire complex," I said calmly. "These cabins, I built them from the ground up, including the one you're trying to take over." The woman's face drained of color. "You own everything?" "Yes, the cabins, the land, the roads, even the HOA charter you're pretending to enforce. I bought that out 2 years ago, when the previous board sold their interest due to mismanagement." The deputy turned to her. "Ma'am, you'll need to leave the premises. You're trespassing on private property." She started stammering. "But I was told we had control over." "You had nothing," I cut in. "And you just tried to illegally seize property from its lawful owner. That's grounds for criminal charges. But lucky for you, I'm tired and generous tonight." She stepped back, stumbling a little. But I wasn't done. I pulled out a folder from my truck, the full ownership records, tax receipts, and the charter proving my authority over the HOA. I handed a copy to the deputy. "I'd like a formal report filed. This isn't the first time this board has tried to harass tenants and owners illegally." The deputy nodded. "Consider it done." The woman was still frozen in place. I turned to her one last time. "Here's the part you never understood. You thought this was about rules, about power. But this entire mountain, every cabin, every stone, every tree, is mine. And I don't take kindly to threats." She turned and walked away in silence. The officers escorted her off the property. The next morning, I held a special meeting with the few actual HOA board members who still believed in community, not control. We voted her off the board permanently and launched an internal audit. Turns out, she'd been fining tenants illegally, pocketing the money through a shell maintenance company. By the following week, she was under state investigation. As for me, I finally got to enjoy that weekend. Cabin porch, coffee mug in hand, a crisp breeze rolling down the mountain, and not a single clipboard in sight. I thought the chaos was over, but I underestimated just how far some people are willing to go when their illusion of power slips through their fingers. 2 days after the incident with the HOA woman and the police, I started noticing strange things around the property. It began with small, petty annoyances. The entry gate code had been mysteriously changed. A landscaping crew I hadn't hired showed up and claimed they were sent by the new property manager. One of my long-term renters, a Navy veteran who's been living in cabin 4 for over a year, called me up and said, "Hey, boss." Someone came by saying I had to vacate in 72 hours. Because of non-compliant lease structure, some lady handed me a pink notice and everything. That's when I knew Karen wasn't done. See, most people get embarrassed when they're caught red-handed. But HOA Karens? They doubled down. I dug in deeper. Turns out, she'd accessed the old HOA database through a backdoor login. The previous treasurer forgot to disable. She'd been generating fake violation letters, eviction notices, and forging board approval with old signatures from years ago. She even printed a fake, complex-wide restructuring memo and taped it to each cabin door, complete with a fake lawyer's letterhead. She was trying to create chaos, hoping someone, maybe even law enforcement, would question my authority just long enough for her to. It was calculated, desperate, and illegal. So I called in reinforcements, my legal team, my accountant, and a very old friend, Special Agent Carter, who owed me a favor from my time working on a federal housing fraud case downstate. Within 48 hours, we had a full dossier compiled. Forgery, harassment, unauthorized access of private HOA systems, and a long paper trail of misused funds dating back 3 years. I handed it to the county DA myself. The look on his face when he flipped through the pages said it all. "She's done," he muttered. By the end of that week, the sheriff's office served a formal cease and desist order. And then the best part, the local news picked up the story. Headline: Fake HOA official faces charges after trying to seize property from owner of entire mountain complex. She tried to paint herself as a neighborhood savior, defending community standards. But now, she was just another paper villain caught in a real-world mess. The day they brought her in, she refused to look at me. I was standing by the main office, clipboard in hand, overseeing renovations and upgrades to the guest cabins. She walked by in cuffs, quiet, bitter, hollow. No smug smile, no clipboard, no flashlight, just silence. Afterward, I sent a letter to all the residents of the complex. Clear, direct, and respectful. I explained what happened, who I am, and what I'm about. I let them know they were safe, that there'd be no more harassment, no hidden fees, no surprise inspections, that their community was no longer under threat from someone pretending to enforce power they never had. We started a new chapter that month. The cabins were finally peaceful. Families grilled out on their porches again. Kids rode bikes without being told their helmets were non-HOA compliant. People smiled again when they passed one another on the trails. And as for me, I finally sat down with my team and drew up a new sign for the entrance. I thought we were finally in the clear. The cabins were quiet, the legal mess was settling, and residents were starting to trust that things were truly changing for the better. But 3 weeks later, I got a call from the county clerk's office of persistent. The hearing was scheduled for a Thursday afternoon. I showed up in boots and a flannel because I wanted the court to see exactly who she. It was calculated, desperate, and illegal. So I called in reinforcements, my legal team, my accountant, and a very old friend, Special Agent Carter, who owed me a favor from my time working on a federal housing fraud case downstate. Within 48 hours, we had a full dossier compiled. Forgery, harassment, unauthorized access of private HOA systems, and a long paper trail of misused funds dating back 3 years. I handed it to the county DA myself. The look on his face when he flipped through the pages said it all. "She's done," he muttered. By the end of that week, the sheriff's office served a formal cease and desist order. And then the best part, the local.